What if the very practices meant to awaken you were quietly keeping you asleep? There is a comfortable lie circulating in modern spirituality, a lie wrapped in light, positivity, and well-meaning affirmations. It whispers, rise above it, just stay high vibration, focus on love and light. And for a while it feels good, uplifting, empowering, even holy. But beneath this polished surface lies a hidden cost, one rarely spoken of in temples, retreats, or spiritual circles. Ancient initiates warned about this danger. Mystics wrote of seekers who tried to skip the descent, who attempted to reach the heavens without first walking through their inner underworld. They called it self-deception, disguised as enlightenment. Today, we call it spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing occurs when spiritual ideas, practices, or beliefs are used to avoid unresolved emotional wounds, psychological shadows, or uncomfortable truths about oneself. Instead of healing, we transcend. Instead of integrating, we escape. Like painting sacred symbols on a cracked foundation, the structure looks divine until it collapses. Imagine a traveler who refuses to acknowledge a wound in his foot. He chants mantras, visualizes light, and claims he feels no pain. But with every step, the wound deepens. Eventually, the journey must stop. This is the hidden cost of bypassing. What is ignored does not disappear, it waits. In this video, we will journey into the deeper layers of this phenomenon. We will uncover how spiritual bypassing subtly forms, why it is so seductive, and how it quietly drains authenticity from the spiritual path. We will explore its roots in ancient philosophy, examine how it manifests in modern spirituality, and reveal why true awakening has always demanded descent before ascent. Most importantly, we will not leave you in theory alone. We will move toward integration, how to recognize bypassing within yourself, and how to transform it into genuine inner alchemy. Because real spirituality does not numb pain, it does not deny shadow, it does not bypass humanity. It embraces, transforms, and integrates it. When you are ready, we will begin where all true wisdom begins, not in the light, but at the threshold between light and shadow. Long before the term spiritual bypassing was ever spoken, ancient traditions warned of its essence. They did not use modern psychology or therapeutic language, yet they understood the danger with unsettling clarity. In the mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, India, and Tibet, seekers were repeatedly reminded that illumination without integration leads to illusion. In ancient Egypt, the soul's journey after death was symbolized by the weighing of the heart. The heart was placed against the feather of Ma'at, truth, balance, cosmic order. If the heart was heavier, filled with unprocessed fear, guilt, or denial, it was devoured. This was not merely a myth about the afterlife, it was a spiritual warning. One could not bypass inner truth with rituals or prayers. What was unresolved weighed the soul down. Greek philosophy echoed the same principle. Plato spoke of the ascent from the cave, but few notice what precedes it. The prisoner does not rise into sunlight immediately. First comes pain, confusion, resistance, and the terrifying realization that one's previous reality was false. To reject this painful phase, to claim enlightenment while still chained to illusion, was considered madness, not wisdom. In Eastern traditions, particularly Tantra and early Buddhism, enlightenment was never presented as an escape from suffering, but as intimate contact with it. The Buddha did not transcend suffering by ignoring it. He sat with it, observed it, and penetrated its roots. The first noble truth does not promise light. It names dukkha, the unavoidable discomfort of existence. Only by facing it directly could liberation emerge. Yet even within these traditions, warnings appear. Tibetan texts describe false yogis who experience blissful states and mistake them for realization. Hindu scriptures caution against avidya, spiritual ignorance that masquerades as knowledge. The Gnostic Christians spoke of archons not merely as external rulers, but as inner forces of self-deception that imitate divine light. Hermetic philosophy delivers the warning with brutal simplicity: that which is denied gains power. The alchemist was not trying to escape the lead within himself, he was transforming it. The nigredo, the blackening, the descent into chaos and shadow was the first stage of alchemy, not an optional detour. Those who sought only gold without enduring the black phase were dismissed as charlatans. Fast forward to modern spirituality, and the ancient safeguards have been largely stripped away. Initiations have been replaced with affirmations. Shadow work has been labeled low vibration. Emotional discomfort is reframed as something to rise above rather than move through. The result is a generation of seekers fluent in spiritual language, yet disconnected from their inner depths. This is not evolution, it is regression disguised as progress. Spiritual bypassing thrives where spirituality is divorced from embodiment, psychology, and ethical responsibility. It flourishes when enlightenment is treated as a mood rather than a transformation. Ancient traditions understood something we are now rediscovering the hard way: the soul cannot be fooled by surface light. True wisdom has always demanded honesty before transcendence, descent before ascent, and confrontation before peace. Spiritual bypassing rarely begins as avoidance. It begins as relief. A seeker discovers meditation, prayer, mantra, or mystical philosophy and suddenly feels lighter. Old anxieties soften, emotional pain dulls, a sense of meaning replaces confusion. This is not deception, this is a genuine spiritual opening. The danger appears when relief is mistaken for resolution. Imagine a house with a leaking roof. Rain pours in, damaging the floors below. One day, someone lights incense, rearranges the furniture, and paints the walls white. The house looks peaceful. It even smells sacred, but the leak remains. Over time, the rot spreads invisibly beneath the surface. This is how spiritual bypassing forms: beauty layered over neglect. At its core, spiritual bypassing is the misuse of transcendence. Instead of allowing spiritual insight to illuminate unresolved wounds, it is used to rise above them prematurely. Pain becomes illusion. Trauma becomes karma. Emotional reactions become ego. These ideas are not false, but when applied without discernment, they become tools of escape rather than liberation. One of the most seductive aspects of bypassing is that it feels like progress. The seeker speaks calmly while avoiding difficult conversations. They forgive quickly, but never grieve. They preach detachment while secretly suppressing anger, shame, or fear. They believe they have transcended emotion, when in reality, emotion has simply been buried deeper. Ancient teachers warned of this state. They called it spiritual pride, the belief that one has moved beyond ordinary human processes. This pride is subtle. It does not shout. It whispers, "You are above this now." And once believed, it creates separation from the body, from emotion, from other humans, and ultimately from truth. Spiritual bypassing often crystallizes around three illusions. The first illusion is false detachment. True detachment is spacious awareness. False detachment is numbness disguised as wisdom. The bypassed seeker does not feel deeply, not because they are free, but because they are defended. The second illusion is premature forgiveness. Forgiveness is powerful, but when used to avoid anger or boundaries, it becomes self-abandonment. The soul does not heal by skipping stages. Even sacred texts speak of righteous anger, of discernment, of knowing when something must be confronted rather than released. The third illusion is identity inflation. Spiritual concepts become part of the ego structure. The seeker no longer has spiritual knowledge, they are spiritual. Any challenge becomes a threat, any mirror becomes an attack. This is why bypassing is so resistant to correction. Here is the paradox. Spirituality is meant to dissolve illusion, yet bypassing uses spirituality to reinforce it. The mind adopts sacred language, the personality adopts calmness, but the unconscious remains untouched. This creates a split, the higher self floating above, the wounded self locked below. Hermetic teachings describe this as an imbalance between the above and the below. As above, so below was never an invitation to escape the lower, it was a demand to integrate it. When the lower is denied, the above becomes hollow. Spiritual bypassing does not remain hidden forever. It may survive for years, sometimes decades, but eventually it demands payment. The cost is not always dramatic. More often it arrives quietly, disguised as confusion, stagnation, or a sense that something essential is missing despite years of practice. One of the earliest consequences is emotional fragmentation. The bypassed seeker becomes skilled at speaking about emotions, but disconnected from actually feeling them. Sadness is analyzed instead of experienced. Anger is spiritualized instead of honored. Fear is dismissed instead of understood. Over time, this creates an inner split where the spiritual self performs wisdom while the human self is left unheard. Relationships reveal this fracture mercilessly. Partners, friends, and family often sense something is wrong long before the seeker does. They describe the bypassed individual as calm but distant, compassionate but unavailable, wise but oddly cold. Conflict becomes impossible, not because harmony exists, but because disagreement is labeled low vibration or unconscious. This is not peace, it is avoidance sanctified. Ancient traditions predicted this outcome. In Taoist philosophy, imbalance between yin and yang leads to stagnation. Too much ascent without descent creates brittleness. Too much light without shadow produces blindness. The Tao is not found in elevation alone, but in circulation. Energy must move, descend, rise, and return. Another cost is spiritual stagnation. Growth slows, then stops. Practices lose their depth. Meditation becomes repetitive. Insights recycle themselves. The seeker consumes more teachings but embodies less truth. This is because bypassing blocks the very material transformation requires. Shadow is not an obstacle to awakening, it is the raw substance of it. Eventually, bypassing often collapses under pressure. A loss, betrayal, illness, or emotional crisis pierces the spiritual armor. The suppressed material erupts, sometimes violently. Panic attacks appear in seasoned meditators. Rage surfaces in gentle teachers. Depression descends on those who believed they had transcended suffering. This is not failure. It is the psyche demanding wholeness. Esoteric psychology understood this long ago. Jung called it the return of the repressed. Alchemists called it the resurgence of lead. Mystics called it the dark night. Different languages, same law. What is not integrated will return, amplified. There is also a subtler danger, moral bypassing. Spiritual ideas are used to avoid accountability. Harm is excused as part of someone's journey. Boundaries are ignored in the name of compassion. In extreme cases, bypassing enables manipulation, spiritual authority abuse, and silent suffering. History is filled with enlightened figures who taught light while casting long shadows. The most tragic cost, however, is lost authenticity. The seeker forgets how to be human. Laughter becomes restrained. Grief feels embarrassing. Desire is judged. The soul longs not for transcendence, but for permission to exist fully. True spirituality does not shrink humanity, it deepens it. Ancient initiation rites were designed to prevent this very trap. They forced the initiate to face fear, shame, and vulnerability before granting symbolic rebirth. Modern spirituality often reverses this order, offering rebirth without death, light without darkness, transcendence without truth. The antidote to spiritual bypassing is not abandoning spirituality, it is embodying it. Integration, not elevation, is the key. Ancient paths did not ask the seeker to escape humanity, but to bring consciousness into it, into the body, the emotions, the shadows, and the unspoken truths. The first practice is radical inner honesty. This is not self-criticism, but clear seeing. Ask yourself simple, unsettling questions and stay with them without rushing towards spiritual conclusions. What emotions do I avoid feeling? Which spiritual ideas do I use to silence discomfort? Where do I claim detachment but secretly feel resentment or fear? Write the answers without editing them. Truth begins where performance ends. The second practice is conscious descent. Set aside time to intentionally feel what you usually transcend. Sit in silence and bring attention into the body. Where is tension stored? Where does emotion gather? Do not label the experience as high or low vibration. Simply stay present. This is the alchemical descent into the nigredo, the fertile darkness where transformation actually begins. Third is reclaiming emotional literacy. Emotions are not spiritual failures, they are messages. Anger reveals violated boundaries. Grief reveals love. Fear reveals attachment. Instead of dissolving emotions with mantras, listen to them. Speak them aloud if possible. Ancient initiates practiced confession not for forgiveness, but for integration, bringing the hidden into the light of awareness. Another essential practice is shadow dialogue. Choose an aspect of yourself you have spiritually rejected, your jealousy, neediness, ambition, or sadness. Sit with it and allow it to speak. Ask what it wants. Ask what it protects. You may discover that your shadow is not your enemy, but a guardian that learned extreme strategies to survive. Equally important is grounded accountability. True spirituality welcomes feedback. If multiple people experience you as distant, dismissive, or emotionally unavailable, do not spiritualize their perception, reflect on it. Wisdom does not isolate, it refines relationship. The mystic is not above the world, they are deeply responsive to it. Balance transcendence with embodiment practices. Physical movement, breathwork, creative expression, and honest conversation anchor insight into lived reality. The body is not an obstacle to awakening, it is its instrument. Esoteric traditions taught that enlightenment must descend into flesh or remain incomplete. Finally, cultivate humility before the path. Awakening is not a finish line, it unfolds in spirals, not ladders. Whenever you believe you are beyond something, that is precisely where attention is required. The soul evolves not by escaping its depth, but by entering it consciously. Spiritual bypassing dissolves not through force, but through courage. The courage to feel, to admit, to descend, and to integrate. This is slower than escape, but infinitely more real. Spiritual bypassing is not a flaw. It is a temptation, a beautiful one. It offers comfort without confrontation, peace without process, light without labor. And for a time, it convinces the seeker that they are free. But ancient wisdom has always known what modern spirituality is still learning. What is avoided becomes the gatekeeper of awakening. True spirituality does not lift you out of your humanity, it brings you deeper into it. It asks you to feel what you would rather transcend, to face what you would rather bless away, and to integrate what you once rejected. The path was never about becoming untouchable, it was about becoming whole. The mystics did not seek perfection, they sought union between body and spirit, shadow and light, heaven and earth. This is why every authentic path includes descent, discomfort, and dismantling. Without these, spirituality becomes performance. With them, it becomes transformation. If you recognize traces of spiritual bypassing within yourself, do not condemn them. See them as invitations. They are signs that your soul is ready for greater depth, greater honesty, and greater embodiment. The shadow does not appear to punish you, it appears because you are strong enough to meet it. Remember this, enlightenment is not found above your wounds, beyond your emotions, or outside your humanity. It is found within them, when awareness finally stops running. So the next time you feel the urge to rise above pain, pause, turn inward, descend with consciousness. There, in the place you were taught to avoid, lies the gold the alchemists spoke of, the only kind that truly endures. If this teaching resonated, sit with it. Observe where it touches resistance, curiosity, or recognition. The work begins not when the video ends, but when awareness remains. And as always on this path, walk slowly, walk honestly, and let nothing essential be bypassed.